Hello there, fellow humans, and welcome to the MX-M449, which is definitely under the 5 best tier rates in the game, which obviously is very nice, and is also in the shop right now, so let's talk about it today. Now, obviously, why is this tank in the best 5? Because simply it is the most well-rounded, or one of the most well-rounded tier rates in the game as well. Well, we do have the T-34 for 5,500, so if you're on more than a budget, then I would definitely recommend that one as well. If you're a new player, I would also try to recommend the T-34, because the T-34 does have higher penetration, higher alpha damage, so you are going to be a bit more safe in terms of creating credits and damage there. However, the MX-M449 still, even if you're a new player, is going to work beautifully. Now, 8,000 gold for this kind of bundle isn't the greatest price this tank's ever sold at, so you know, you have to keep that in mind. The real value of this bundle, if it was sold at another time, would be around 7,000 gold, so you do have to keep that in mind, that you're kind of overpaying a little bit if you're buying this bundle. Now, you do have the 15 times that only apply to the tank. You don't have any big extra things besides the camouflage, which is the Liberté for some reason. And you do also have this tank purchase certificate, which is not too bad actually. And obviously with full equipment. So now, as always, let's compare it. Let's look at the armor. So here we go, let's have a look at the MX-M449 in the stats. Now, obviously you can see 2,300 DPM is very strong, not quite as much as that of a T26E5 or that of a Action X, but we don't talk about the Action here because it has 190 alpha damage. Now, this thing has 310, which is very, very standard for rate heavy tanks. You have 232mm penetration, which is outstanding, except for something like a T-34. So this tank, just like the T-34 as well, is a good starting tank as well. So the T-34 is the cheaper version. Basically, so if you don't want to invest that much money into the game, then I go for the T-34. But if you want to have the highest performance possible, then I think the MX can be one of the greatest options, especially because you do have more penetration and more DPM than the T-42 on the premium rounds as well, by 3. So I think the T-42 is slightly bit better than the MX, but in terms of the gun, the MX does win quite a bit there. And I think it's the most well-rounded tier 8 heavy tank gun that you can get in the game. And you can also see that in the accuracy and all that, and the dispersion. It is somewhere in the middle, something outstanding, nothing bad. So it is right there, and it is also somewhat strong. 0.33 is not amazing, but as you can see, you don't get much better than that, especially on the higher alpha damage guns here, unless you're a Löwe, but that's a German tank there. 40 kilometers now, top speed, effective powder weight ratio of 15, which again, only the 226 can beat, which is still a relatively strong tank, only held back by the fact that it only has 240 alpha damage and relatively mediocre armor. So this one has a 175 credit coefficient, which is on par with these, slightly bit more than a T-34. Mind you, the T-34 and the T-34 Independence, they're the exact same tank. It doesn't matter which one you take. And as you can see here, 260mm on 182 on the hull. And it is performing also very well. As you can see, though, T-42 is doing just a lot better. And not a lot of people are playing this tank, according to Blitz stars. So that's interesting. But this thing is very good. So I can definitely recommend this tank. If you want to buy 5 premium tanks in this game, that's around the thing that most people are going to get, 4 to 5 premiums. Make this one of them. And we continue with the armor on this vehicle. Lower plate, obviously weak spot, 160mm. Don't even bother. It's going to get penned. 250 on the front, which means a T-34 can pen it on some certain places, and other heavies and mediums can't. Against tier 7s, you're very well protected. Against tier 9s, don't even bother. Turret's pretty much impenetrable up here. You can go through a bit here in this spot, but I wouldn't bother trying to aim here. The angles are so weird that, yeah, just don't bother. Try to aim at the side. Obviously, it is going to be very well angled. If you turn the turret, obviously, it does get weaker. However, the way it is angled is it still retains a lot of its strength, even if you turn a bit. You do have the cupola on top, which is absolutely weak. But because the tank has somewhat decent mobility, you can wiggle it back and forth relatively easily. So you can, if you do that, if you're not shooting, just go rock back and forth, and you can increase the chance that the enemy is going to miss, because obviously your biggest armor is the enemy's incompetence of aiming, so keep that in mind. And obviously what you want to know is, why is this tank one of the best tier rates in the game? Now, you've already seen it in the stats and the armor, but that only says that it's good. What does make this tank great? And what makes a tank great, in my opinion, I think, is its versatility, because obviously the more useful a tank is in every situation, the better it is. Because obviously, if you put a mouse in a field on its own, surrounded by two LT-100s, yeah, congratulations, you're screwed. So basically, the more versatile a tank is, and the more better it is at everything, the better a tank is. Something like a E50M, something a Chieftain, something like an MXM49. Just like that, because you do have an amazing combination of mobility, armor, and the gun, compared with 10 degrees of gun depression, and very few actual weak points. But now let's talk about those a bit more in detail. You obviously have the cupola on top, that you can basically be penned through, but if you keep the tank moving, and if I were to have a team that has any type of competence, then it would be relatively easily to do that. Now, another problem with the vehicle is that the plates here, obviously, if you turn the tank to the side, these get flatter and flatter, so you can get penned through those, and that is not very ideal, obviously. Okay, what do we do here? Okay, the Tiger 2 is pushing forward, which is good, and the Sumo is Skoda is running away, and the Sumo is still back there. I think there was some guy at that place as well, but yeah, okay. Now it's time to push the Sumo. Obviously, use our mobility with 40 km/h speed, which is definitely more than enough to do it. Now, you also have the excellent penetration on this vehicle, which is going to allow us to use AP to just go straight through them, especially his sides, obviously. I mean, you can go through the side of any tank, really, with this thing, with AP, which is also great because that makes you have a better credit yield out of your battles, because, you know, the less APCR you have to fire, the more creds you're going to make, because obviously the less creds your APCR is going to chew up. So we got rid of him, which is very nice, which is what you always want to do ideally, you know. Focus out singular tanks, get an overwhelming majority on them, and then move on to the next one, because obviously if you're the one being overwhelmed, that's not good. And I have no idea what the Panther M10 is doing, but then again, it's a Panther M10 player, so the T55A of Tier 7. So let's now move over here. Charioteer should be, I think, the main target here. He cannot pen the front plate because he does have Hesh, which makes it relatively easy for me, unless that Skoda is going to do some funky business. So we're going to have to try to set up here. Obviously, I'm way too fast for that Tiger, which is the main downside of this vehicle. It is just a lot faster than a lot of other heavies, so you are going to be outrunning a lot of your heavy support, which can be good on one side, can be bad on the other. So, obviously, now two of them are dead. They didn't take any map control. Me and the Tiger were pretty much the only one that took any form of map control. And now that is definitely showing itself as the team is just getting completely destroyed because they have no map control, no positioning, and probably also no skill. And that's just how it goes. Take the map control. You know, if you don't take action, then you can't expect to win, and you won't win. So, there is that. Okay, let's try to somewhat get some damage out of this here as well. Hopefully. Obviously, they are going to be pushing. So I will need to try to get myself into a position that is a bit more advantageous, just a flat ground, because you don't want to find yourself there. It's also another reason why you don't necessarily want to go into a city with a tank like this, because obviously you're playing around gun depression. So if you are then using flat ground, then you're not going to have a great time. And yeah, this AT-15 is going to be somewhat of a problem because of its hit points and because of the funky armor that tank has as well. And now we're going to try to go for the Charioteer here, you know, single out the flanks to keep all the enemies in front of us so that we have a as decent chance as possible. But obviously, I don't expect anything to be happening here because I'm in a 1v5 right now. And this Skoda should be targetable. Yes. Yes, indeed. There we go. Now the Comet's there, but the Löwe is the bigger problem. So let's try getting another shot into the Löwe. Skoda's a bit mad that I know how to aim. And that is 3,000 damage. And that is a very solid result. And as you can see here, absolutely horrible team. And a horrible enemy T-27. But the tank still did perform very nicely. And that is also very important for a tank like this. That even though you're at a massive disadvantage, you have a team that doesn't want to win, you can still have a lot of personal impact. And that is, I think, also something that is very important for a tank like this. So, here we go into the second battle. And loading times aside. Is that the same Skoda? No, probably not. Hopefully not. So, obviously, gonna go to the middle, use the 10 degrees of gun depression, and play it from there. And hopefully this time, we're gonna actually have a team that is gonna contribute, because here's the thing. You're not always gonna have good teams. And that's just how it happens. You know, there's no reason to get mad at them. That's just how it is. Some people just don't care whether they win or lose. But as long as you're doing good for yourself, as long as you're having a good time, as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, it's perfectly fine. And You know, that's why I'm not mad. I did 3,000 damage. I didn't lose that game, pretty much. So, you know, if they're not carrying their own weight, that's not my problem at that point. It can sound a bit selfish, but then again, this is Blitz. No one cares, so might as well. Now, 49 pattern. You're having a very bad choice of tank there, my friend. That is not a good idea. And there is a 400 damage bounce, which could be a T-34. If it... Well, it ideally is the T-34, because I don't think the T-25 IT has, I think, a 320 AFL damage, something like that. So I would assume that is a T-34. Well, this... No, the Scepter has 310, I think. It has to be the T-34. Yeah, that's the brain. That's how you get a brain rattling. You know, look at the mini-map. Look around yourself. Who's there? Who's missing? Who could it be? And then that way, you're going to find out where the enemies are. And you can definitely play off that as well. Now, Camera, also amazing tank. But not as good as this one. At least in terms of the armor. And, but this has more mobility, so there's that. No, AMX, I don't like you. I don't like you. Peek me. Come on. Obviously, I'm right in the middle here between all the enemies, but that's fine. I'm in an AMX. Here we go. Another one. Actually, it's not amazing, but it is definitely strong enough. Now, if you were to keep shooting me while I reload, that would be very nice. Or I just bounce off him, because that happens, apparently. It is now time to disappear. Now, he should have one more shot, or doesn't have a shot, whatever. He doesn't have anything now. And the Scepter has now gotten rid of T-34. Now, T-34 should be somewhere up here, ideally. If he didn't move. And hello there. Hello, cutie. I knew it. I know it was you. I smelled you from all the way far away. Okay, see? He bounced. Very, very strong penetration on that tank. Can't go through, though. So, let's go for him. He's gonna try to YOLO or something. Same with the Scepter. So, gonna have to pull back here, because if both hit me, then that might be the end. It's obviously 700 HP. Could be enough. I'm gonna keep going. He shouldn't be... Ideally, he's gonna not be able to actually kill me, but... I'm gonna keep pulling back. Maybe he's gonna burn up, and he's dead. Beautiful. And now... The T-25 somehow is over there, but that's fine. And there you go. See, I did that on purpose, kind of, to just show how strong this tank actually is. Like, I was literally in the middle of the entire enemy team, and nothing really happened. I just angling a bit here and there, and then boom. That's how strong this thing is, you know? It is very good at playing out your strength, and also very good at covering up for your mistakes. And that is why this is one of the best tier 8s in the game. It's easy to play, and it has a shit ton of performance in it. So with that said, that's it. I would definitely recommend this thing if you can afford it and if you want it under those two conditions.